Hello and welcome to Mobile Youth TV. My name is Graham Brown. Today we're going to talk about consumer insights and how you can incorporate consumer insights into the product development process. To do this, we're privileged to have Julia Shalet. Now, Julia Shalet is Product Doctor and founder of the Digital Youth Project, but she's also got a lot of experience in working within large organizations, mobile operators, as well as IT companies, in really helping them integrate that process and joining up the dots between consumer insights and the product development. Julia, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
One of the things I really liked about what you did, taking young people into big brands, big IT companies, and the situation where you place young people in front of technologists. You know, you have this sort of, sometimes a rude awakening, and sometimes, you get some real inspiration. But either way, it's of real value. And, you built those panels, you had them sit in front of people who often don't get a lot of contact with young people directly. Oh, it's all very well if you're a small startup. But what do we do if we're a large mobile operator or handset brand? We can't do these kind of things. Let's start off by saying, where did you get your start? How did you get involved in bringing young people in, building these panels and helping build that bridge between young people and these brands in the first place? Why did you decide to do that?
Okay, well, I've actually been in mobile right from the beginning of my career. I joined Mercury One-to-One before One-to-One launched. Fabulous years. And I would say during my time there, I probably can say that I managed at one point or other every single consumer product they ever launched, including tariffing. Towards sort of about 3/4 of the way through my career there, they were after some people to volunteer in a local school and to run work-related learning sort of / enterprise sessions for the young people, because all youngsters now at school have to have some kind of work-related experience every year. I sort of trotted along and ran these sessions, and I was given these case studies about, carpet manufacturing or chocolates, too many, manufacturers made too many chocolates, how would you stop and sell? And I thought, this is daft. At the time, I was managing a £350 million revenue line for mobile messaging, and we were really trying to get picture messaging going. It was in the introduction phase. So I sort of said, well, look, can I bring my own case study? And they said, yes, with pleasure. Well, the minute I took in something that was a real-life product that they were actually pretty into, although a lot of them didn't actually have camera phones, but the minute I took that in, the session was so much more sparky. And as the product manager, the owner of the revenue line, I thought, my God, this is a great way to get your own user insights without having to pay an expensive agency. It really was great for them to know that some of their ideas were going to get reflected back by a big brand. So from there, when I left T-Mobile, I carried on this concept and picked up, I love sort of startup and innovation, and I love new product development. So I started picking up some clients who had these, they weren't even called apps back then, but they were little kind of interesting bits of mobile functionality. And that's really how I got started. So yes, I had that nice feel-good factor of knowing I was creating a really interesting and relevant learning experience. But at the same time, I was bringing great value to the product development side of these businesses.
Great. I'm curious to understand the win-win there as well, especially from the young people's perspective. I guess, if you're talking about carpet manufacturers and so on, it doesn't really touch their lives, but they all relate to mobile phones. And if you actually spend the time saying, actually, I value your opinion, did that get different results?
Well, this is it, you see. The other formats that I've done also reflect this. You're asking young people to look at products and make very quick judgments. Now, actually, they do that anyway, but what you're pushing them to do is to be constructive. I don't like it, yes, but why? Or yes, I like it, yes, but why? And then you talk them through it and you say, right, walk me through how you might use this product, or walk me through, how you think this could be improved. And all of these analytical skills are very useful for young people, and particularly they'll wake up and they'll love to do it because it's a product that they're passionate about. You've got to remember that the only time that mobiles practically are mentioned in schools is, oh, you mustn't have your mobile on. In fact, you shouldn't even have it. And suddenly I'm saying, hey, everyone, let's talk. The interesting sort of build on that is with the panels. When you take a panel of young people and put them in front of a business or put them in front of an industry at a conference. They're also getting that fantastic experience of public speaking. They're sitting on stage, in front of 300 industry people and being listened to. And that's the point you made, Graham. To actually be a teenager and listen to.
That alone is a big deal, isn't it, in a world that tends to stonewall you, right?
Absolutely.
I really like the way that you do it as well, because you sort of made them feel quite special, whether that be coming in and talking to them about what really matters to them, the mobile phone, or putting them in an environment where they're the star. You're putting young people in control, and I wonder whether that whole idea of control is a key theme to why it just clicks.
In any environment, when you're trying to gather user insights, you have to absolutely make your respondents feel that they can talk very openly. I don't think it's as much about control, as much as making it a very open process, and that really, to be honest, is a personality thing. It's based on whether the researcher can do it or not. If you can involve them early enough in the process, rather than saying, here's a done deal, what do you think of this?
Exactly.
To actually get their input to the design. I mean, I've got a great example of this. I was Director of Product and User Insights at WeWorld, sort of virtual world, which is now really doing very well as a result of a lot of the revenue streams and the virtual economy that I designed with them over my 3.5 years there. But what I would do is bring them in and show them a prototype which the designer there could knock up in a couple of days. We're not talking about a fully functioning thing. Bring the designers into the process as well and actually have the discussion with the users at the table and have them, drawing and doing all sorts of things and explaining why and how they would use this product. Really involving them as early as you possibly can and going back and checking in is very important. And the other side point I always make, it's very, very valuable to have sort of technical developers at the same table as the users, because they are scared, a lot of them, of actually talking to end users. You need that sort of go-between person. You need a facilitator there. But what I actually proved is we doubled our development and delivery output by involving users, not only because obviously we're getting their views in early and often, but also because the developers start to develop their own user understanding. Be sitting there at the table, they're all developing and I was there kind of looking, and I'd hear them say, oh no, we can't put that button there because do you remember
Yeah.
the 2-hour meetings discussing the placing of a button, me with steam coming out of my ear saying, you're not going to do it. Didn't have to do that. So talk about product managers creating a stress-free life. This is definitely the way to go.
Excellent. I like that story. What do you think are the reasons why organisations don't do this? When you lay it on the table, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I think everybody deep down understands that they need to be doing it. But why would a handset brand or a mobile operator, we'll get our agency to do a campaign dip, that will be our consumer insights. What's the resistance there?
If we're talking about the large companies, from my experience in mobile, you select your research agencies and your marketing agencies and you tie yourselves up into contracts with them, right? It's quite a complicated web of interworking. I mean, I've been in meetings in mobile where you've literally got about 6 agencies at the table. You're thinking, my goodness, this is crazy. For the product person who's passionate about the revenue line and the user experience, which clearly drives the revenue line, they don't necessarily get a look in. So that might be one reason. It's with a mobile operator, it's very focused on brand, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Those product managers who have the revenue line, who go, hang on a minute, I've got to make this amount of money. Now, perhaps I can't be too mainstream in my thinking. Okay, I manage text messaging, and all right, it kind of stands up on its own. But what are those extra little things I could do to really bump up that revenue line? And that's where they start to really look at working with third parties and all the lovely developers, the likes that turn up at Momo and so on. It's those sorts of people that really need to be brought into it, along with this user focus. I'm not sure that I know of many agencies who do this. Now, I suppose the other thing would be around cost. So let's say you're the product manager. The chances are you have got your own P&L. You might think, actually, if I take this to a research agency, it's going to cost me an awful lot of money.
Sure.
Now, here comes the commercial twist to the Digital Youth Project. The twist is that because it's creating a learning experience, we can go in and do this in a school, or we can find a school local to the operator who are happy to let us take young people into the operator. I don't have to pay them. So in normal research, you're paying each of your users, aren't you, to do the research. The other thing you're doing is you're probably hiring, certainly in the corporate, you're hiring an expensive research suite with the two-way mirror, right, where the client sits behind and eats the pizza and watches all the people who feel a bit on edge because they know they're being watched, particularly young people.
Very much so. In these instances where you generate these insights, you've almost promised to the young people that you're opening up this dialogue between them and the organisation, and maybe the product manager and the brand manager or consumer insights manager who's involved on the other side are also bought into this. By opening yourself up to dialogue, you sort of make a promise to customers that we're going to take your opinion seriously. And, you know, a lot of people warm to that, especially young people. But then you have a situation where the organisation can't deliver and there's like a failed promise. So I wonder, you know, what would you suggest needs to happen here? How do you make sure that you don't just say, right, yeah, I'm listening, tell me everything, and then, you know, you go away and nothing happens? A bit like sort of the customer service questionnaire. When
I do any session with young people, I'm very open about the fact that, you know, I'm creating a learning experience for them, and I'm also creating insights for the business. Part of that whole educational experience, if you like, is about getting them to understand a bit more about product development, a bit more about innovation grounded in technology, which is my area. So I'll talk about how you turn an idea right at the beginning of the innovation process into something that you actually can deliver. There's never any promise that all these things are going to happen, but it's a great conversation to have with the young people to explain how it happens. You start with a huge funnel, don't you? You know, you pour all these ideas in, and then you do what's the most effective thing to deliver within budget, and how satisfied will your user be as a result of you delivering that feature. And it's a whole kind of formula, isn't it, that you get to. But that's a very interesting insight to explain to young people. Now, if you're talking about big companies who create, for example, big online communities for the purpose of feedback, that's a little bit of a different thing. But I would also suggest that that gets framed. You know, there's no reason not to be very transparent and to explain to young people, look, this is the way it goes.
So what you're saying is there really has to be an overriding benefit, which gets young people participating in the sense you're talking about a learning experience. Even if the ideas didn't get adopted, they've actually learned something from that, and they learned, for example, the challenges that big companies face.